Welcome to my final video for Essentials Collection 2. This is for what I call my oh heck bag, or the extra couple balls you throw in the trunk that you're not expecting to use but don't feel comfortable leaving at home. Every once in a while, even on house shots, you get to a tournament and the conditions are different from what you're used to, or they get to a point in transition that house shots don't usually get to, or they don't break down predictably. First we'll talk Halo Burn because it's likely the most curious one of the two. It's actually the last ball in the car though. Halo Burn is an overseas ball that uses the Pearl version of the cover from the Halo, so it's the Microtrax formula, which is nano-based. Nano and Pearl aren't a super user-friendly marriage, so to speak. When you think Nano, you think early, smooth, and controllable, but when you think Pearl, you think long and strong. Now when you put the two together, you have a still clean up front, but much smoother and more rolly shape down the lane. When you throw something like the Halo Burn, you send it wide and it still looks cleaner, but it's quite a bit more gradual down lane than typical Pearls, so from a similar line, the Halo Pearl will get down the lane, turn over, and put 10 straight back. The Halo Burn will start up just a little earlier, but will also be smoother down lane and leave a flat or plaque 10 as it's called by tournament bowlers. The term is derived from the sound the ball makes when it hits flat. So if you remember in my last video when I was describing my pinup Intense Fire, it's great on softer back ends from straighter angles, but what about when you run into medium conditions with really squeaky back ends? The track is going to go quickly, you're going to be force deep, but quicker response balls can also burn up on that much friction. The benefit to a shiny ball with the Nano formula is that because it's slower on friction, it's not going to burn energy like other balls will, or it's not going to quit when it hits that sharp friction. The Halo Burn is the quintessential super specific use ball for when I run into higher friction lanes that still have a medium to higher amount of oil on them. Higher friction lanes usually transition quicker because they want to hook more to begin with, so the usual move is to put more oil on them so that you're not lofting the gutter halfway through the second game. The issue with this is that typically quicker reactives burn energy quite a bit more quickly because they're still using some of it throughout the lane, and then when they hit that enormous amount of friction at the end of the pattern, they just give up. Quite often you need to get left to get the ball down the lane, but finding something that will pull back up and actually hit and drive without burning all its energy making the turn puts some pretty unique requirements on ball reaction. The Halo Burn hits the trifecta there because the shiny cover is clean enough to clear the heads, the big asymmetric core helps the ball wind up from the deeper angles needed to help the ball through the heads, and the cover is slow enough on friction that it avoids standing up or quitting when it hits the back end of the lane. Moving to my pin down Intense Fire, this one is the same idea as the pin up Fire, but for when I need to move left. This is best in similar situations as my Pinup Intense Fire, but once I have to start getting left, my Pinup Fire doesn't quite have the shape or the look to pull up and go through the pins right if I still need that same look from a deeper zone on the lane. You may not think of pin down when you need more back end, but the trick here is in the layout, specifically the PSA to pat measurement. My Pinup Fire is drilled to be a little straighter. It's a long pin length at 5 1/4, longer PSA to pat measurement at 5, so it's going to want to be more forward off the end of the pattern, but a medium-ish pin buffer at 2 3/4 still gives it enough quickness in combination with the shiny R3S hybrid cover. My pin length on both is the same at 5 1/4, but on the second one, my PSA to pat measurement is in quite a bit stronger position. It's at 3.5 inches while my pin buffer moves to 4.5. This gives me the same pin position, but the PSA is in quite a bit stronger and more dynamic position, so instead of going for all-out back end with stronger and more dynamic numbers elsewhere as well, it gives me a good balance of control and punch. With the R3S hybrid cover that's still strong and responsive, when I go to move left, it gives me the extra oomph I need in zones further left than the Pinup Fire is drilled to handle. When it comes to asymmetric cores, pin up isn't necessarily a stronger motion and pin down isn't necessarily smoother. The PSA to positive axis measurement is a pretty big factor, so the stronger PSA to pat measurement gets the ball to wind up more and be more continuous, while the longer pin buffer offsets the differential increase so it's not strong on top of more strong. Now that you're thoroughly confused, this is the end of the video. In plain English, the stronger core of the Halo Burn makes the ball rev up, and the smoother cover stock formula keeps it from burning energy on friction. And the blended layout that's both weaker in one way and stronger in another on my second Intense Fire gives me a similar look as the first, just from a different area on the lane. Both of these are used more rarely because the situations I'd use them in don't typically show up, but when they do, I'm covered. Thanks for watching.